Morning, everybody. Thank you for attending our annual general meeting on May 25th, 2021. For everyone's benefit, I have recorded this presentation and I'm making it available to shareholders online as well. This is our standard cautionary statement slide, so please take advice. Endurance currently has 124.2 million shares issued for market capitalization as of this past Friday of about $50 million Canadian. Options outstanding are 9 million and warrants outstanding are 7.9 for a fully diluted share base of 141 million shares. Working capital is $4.6 million at the end of this first quarter, which includes marketable securities. Insiders own over 55% of the company, and those 3 insiders are also directors of the company, including myself. Endurance Gold controls 2 key gold projects, which we own 100% or have an option for 100%. Both are drill-ready projects in top-ranked jurisdictions. And so this presentation will highlight those projects. The project that's our prime focus right now is the Reliance Gold project located in BC, about a 4-hour drive north of Vancouver. It's an epizonal orogenic system with 2021 drilling in progress and planned. It's next to a former 4 million ounce gold producer, in fact the largest former producer in the province of British Columbia. And we've got ourselves drill intersections from 2020 program released through March of this year that include 9.7 gram per ton gold over 12.2 meters from surface. These intersections are located with a very long 1.2 kilometer plus 100 ppb gold and soil anomaly, which remains open along trend. And we've got outcrops that we've channel sampled in here, which include 8.97 gram per ton gold over 9.6 meters within broader zones running 5 to 6 grams. The project's fully permitted for exploration drilling. And as I mentioned, RC drilling program is active and with a planned 35 holes. And we also plan to go back and do diamond drilling, a phase of diamond drilling this year as well. The other key project we own is the Elephant Mountain project in Alaska, which is an intrusive hosted gold system, and these can be large, very significant gold systems within the Tintina Gold Belt of Alaska and the Yukon, one of North America's most pregnant gold belts, gold districts. On our project, we have presently brought 6 targets to drill stage, all kilometer in scale, targets based on soil and geophysics within an emerging 12.5 kilometer district, all associated with an intrusive related system. Drill intersections that we've returned in our own drilling include 0.4 gram per ton gold over 147.47 meters and about a kilometer away of 4.1 gram per ton gold over 4.6 meters. This project's also fully permitted for exploration drilling, and further drilling is undoubtedly warranted, but we are not currently planning a program for this year. So the Reliance project is our road accessible project. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with what we've been doing here. It's a 4-hour drive, summer drive north from Vancouver, and it's 4 kilometers by road from the community of Goldbridge, BC. And we're located next to a historic 4 million ounce gold producer. In fact, the largest historic gold producer for the province of British Columbia. Reliance is an epizonal orogenic, structurally hosted gold, arsenic, antimony type system associated with silicification and sulfidization within a very extensive anchorite, sericite, kaolinite alteration system. We drilled late last year, and by March returned a number of really good intersections, including 9.7 grams over 12.2 meters, 10.5 over 6 meters, 6.2 over 13.7, 3.53 over 15.2 meters, all roughly true width intersections on a shallow dipping structure called the Eagle Zone. We also did one drill hole and returned 7.23 grams per ton over 4.6 meters on the Imperial Zone, which is being the subject of historic exploration, including some very encouraging drill intersections of 13.3 over 4.2, 5.7 over 12, etc. So all of these are hosted within a 1.2 kilometer long alteration, golden soil and significant golden rock anomaly in the Royal Shear, a crustal scale structural lineament. And it's associated with a 2 kilometer long biogeochem anomaly with elevated gold pathfinder elements. It's a 4-hour summer drive north from Vancouver. You can drive through Whistler and go over the top on the Hurley Road into the town of Goldbridge during the summer. Goldbridge is a town that services the community of Bralorne as well in this area, and it was a support community for Talisker's, what is now Talisker's Bralorne Pioneer Mine, which operated from 1934 to the early 1970s, and is the biggest historic gold producer, and produced an average of 17 grams per ton gold over the history of that operation. Our project is 4 kilometers east of Goldbridge, shown on the claim map, and we're on the south shore of Carpenter Lake, which is a BC Hydro power reservoir, and there is a power dam facility right here in Goldbridge as well. So previous work on the project up to about 1937, a company called Reliance Gold Mines did some underground work and several short adits on prospects on the property, actually at a parallel structure to the one we're currently working on. And then from 1984 to 2008, Manika Mining did some exploration and got some encouraging drill intersections, including 10.6 grams per ton over 9.9 grams. 10.6 meters of 9.9 grams per ton gold. Most of the work Manika did was between 1986 and 1987, and they focused primarily on the Imperial Zone. The 2020 program, when we acquired the property from map stakers after Manika let it go, we conducted an historic data synthesis, basically tracked down all the historic data. Never had any airborne mag or soils or biogeochem work, so we completed that systematic work in 2020, completed surface channel sampling, and we yielded some really excellent gold results from that surface channel sampling on zones that had never been recognized by prior owners. We completed then that culminated in us completing a 16-hole RC, dry RC drill program, and we got excellent gold results from that program. We've now followed up with about a 35-hole program, RC drill program, that commenced in April, and we've already reported some encouraging PXRF scan results, which suggest new gold zones in a majority of the holes that we've reported. We expect to have assays soon on that. We're also completing a program of IP geophysical, LiDAR, and orthophotography, and additional geochemistry, with the plan to go back with a phase of diamond drilling later in the season. The Reliance project and gold zone is associated with what's called the Royal Shear, and it actually forms quite a significant crustal lineament, as you can see on this picture. And the buff-colored road cuts in this area are as a result of the iron carbonate alteration, which is a strong alteration system associated with the gold mineralization. This is a reverse fault, at least that's the way we currently interpret it, with on the right side of the slide dominantly cherts and sediments in the hanging wall of a reverse fault. with the mafic volcanics altered to iron carbonate alteration. And there's also a parallel structure here, Treasure Shear, which is already demonstrating some exploration potential. The historic, some of the old historic workings from the early 1915 area were out on the Camp Creek Shear. The Reliance property hadn't had systematic work done on it. We discovered early in our exploration that there was a strong association with arsenic and gold, and the project was covered in Douglas fir trees. And Douglas fir have a real affinity to collect arsenic, so we did an orientation survey and noticed that there definitely was a Douglas fir tree sampling anomaly associated with the known mineralization. So we conducted a full survey, and as you can see, this shows the contoured survey identifying about a 2-kilometer long biogeochemical anomaly associated with the Royal Shear, with the most intense portions in the lower reaches of this structure over about 1.2 kilometers associated with the known gold mineralizations and the strongest gold and soil anomalies as well. So this, as I mentioned, was the 1.2 kilometer trend where the best and known mineralization is exposed to date, but the exploration potential remains open in both directions. This is defined by a number of areas of good surface sampling, and including the Eagle Zone, where we show a lot of the surface channel sampling here, and some surface work that we did in 2020 on the Imperial Zone and Imperial North, showing good mineralization in the system here, associated with the area that was explored historically over about 100 meters of strike here. Our 2020 activity is shown on the left, and 2021 activity on the right. This shows the location of the key prospects that we explored, in particular the surface channel sample results at the Eagle project 2020 on the left slide, left figure, and a little bit of drilling that was done up in the Imperial Zone, which is the area of historic activity. We started this year going back and following up the encouraging results on the Eagle Zone with a focus this year of exploration activity in several target areas, which include the Eagle, Crown, Imperial, Diplomat, and Treasure, testing to open up this system and identify new gold mineralized areas along this trend, this 1.2 kilometer trend. So this just shows you the average, just a compilation of the best drill intersections from 2020 on the Eagle Zone, and as you can see, we had some very consistent mineralization. We all know 9 holes in this area were intersected good gold mineralization at or just close to surface, and it seemed to be associated with a shallow dipping shear zone that has a surface projection footprint of about 120 by 80 meters where it's been drilled here, and over that area it averages from surface 4.63 grams per ton over 16 meters of average width. So very encouraging for a first step in a new on our exploration activities this year. So the key thing about this, and this is one of these holes from Eagle, is that you can see that there's a good arsenic association, which I've already touched on with the biogeochem. But we're using this with a portable XRF unit, so we now find that we can scan the RC chips and RC bags, and we get encouraging arsenic numbers, which give us, and we know that there's a 0.8 or 80, whenever you've got arsenic, there's an 80% chance there's going to be gold associated with it, or a 0.8 correlation. And as you can see, this just shows the gold assays from one of those drill holes in 2020, showing the strong association with arsenic. So this is why we're using the portable XRF unit to help us guide our exploration activity and conducting and evaluating our drill holes this year based on that work. This just shows you what that technique involves. On the left are the reject samples, the leftover samples from 5-foot runs of RC percussion drilling. And then we collect 2 other samples, one which we send to the lab, and the other sample we call our reference sample. And those reference samples are scanned here by the portable XRF unit within 24 hours of the drilling being completed at site. So we use that to guide step-out holes and to identify areas for prioritizing in the hole for sending samples to the lab. This just shows you the zones that we've drilled to date with the 22 holes that we announced about 10 days ago, showing the elevated arsenic associated with a new treasure zone that we've identified, and elevated arsenic associated with a new diplomat zone, which we've also done some drilling on. And as you can see, the red hatches on here are the newer holes at this point that we'd already started doing on the Eagle, to follow the Eagle zone to the south and down dip. So we expect to see some encouraging results from these, or at least see some gold associated with those elevated arsenic, and we're anxiously awaiting for assays. So gold assays are pending on these 22 holes to date, and on all the drilling that we've completed so far this year. So we're just stepping back a bit and want to show you a photograph of one of the road cuts that we sampled, channel sampled, and identified some very encouraging results, including this 5.89 gram per ton gold over 0.64 and 0.64% antimony over 31.5 meters. This quite intensely iron carbonate altered system, and more intensely sheared in the areas that seem to be mineralized. We didn't quite recognize when we were channel sampling the shallow dipping nature of this because of the lack of texture in the really sheared area, but we have exposed it in one location. So this image shows the area where we identified that Eagle shear zone, dipping shallowly at about 35 degrees to the west. As you can see, this was channel sampled, not recognizing the shallow dipping nature, but that 1.83 meter channel sample ran 15.15 gram per ton gold over that approximate 1.83 meter interval, with a narrow quartz stibnite vein within the system, but largely low silica oxidized system, hosted and encompassed by iron carbonate altered mafic volcanics in the hanging wall and footwall. This is where it's exposed at surface, with the talus fines and soil horizon just imposing on it at the top of this road cut outcrop. I guess the other point to emphasize in that previous slide was the arsenic associated with that interval. And this just shows the footprint of the Eagle zone that was drilled in 2020, with all the pretty encouraging gold assays we got from that drilling activity, showing that the zone's open to the southeast for about 400 meters up to what we call the upper Eagle zone, where we had a good biogeochem anomaly. I'm just going to walk through the sections here, just showing you what this zone looks like in cross-section, which is easier to understand than what you're looking at here. This is how our drilling was completed in 2020, and we first went in this area assuming the shears were probably steeply dipping, and our drilling activity this year convinced us that they were shallow dipping, and further digging and exploration on the road cuts helped support that activity. But this just shows you two of the intersections at the far north where the zone is daylighting, and then moving to the south where it's partly covered and is intersected in hole number 16, just below surface, but at surface in holes number 10 and 11, and comes back to surface at the hole number 17. And then the third section shown here looks like it's dipping further into the hill And this is the area that still remains open for expansion, both down dip and along strike to the southeast. We also did some drilling at the Imperial zone and the Imperial North with 5 holes in the 2020 program. And we did get some encouragement identifying a drill intersection in the up dip extension of the Imperial zone, which included a pretty good interval of 7.23 gram per ton gold over 4.6 meters. This is the area where most of the historic drilling was done over about 100 meters of strike, and that's why we have such a plexus of drill holes here, with most of the drilling done on the property between 1986 and 1988, but there was a phase of 2008 drilling that followed this system down plunge to about 200 meters below surface, sitting in the hanging wall structure of the Royal Shear. So this just shows the Imperial zone in cross section with that plexus of drilling that was focused primarily on this zone by the prior operator between 1986 and 1988 with a phase that was done in 2008. As you can see, there's a strong structure in the hanging wall of the Royal Shear, which separates largely a chert-dominated sequence of the hanging wall from a mafic volcanic-dominated sequence of the footwall. And the gold zone is identified here in the darker red with our drill intersection that we got in 2020, which included 7.23 gram per ton gold over 4.6 meters in the up plunge, which wasn't, interestingly enough, evaluated in the historic work. A key thing about the zone as defined by the historic work in this here is that it has strong down dip continuity, and there's also multiple, especially in light of our Eagle activity where we've identified these shallow dipping shears that might be a rhytal set. There's probably multiple unexplored opportunities in the footwall that were never properly evaluated. The only exposure we can see on surface of the Imperial might be that channel sample that ran 2.69 gram per ton gold over 3.7 meters. So to summarize, we've done quite a bit of exploration already with the prime focus on this Royal Shear. The key point of this slide is to re-show this key structure and the importance of it and where our exploration focus is expected to be this coming year. Down on this Treasure Shear, where we've got the Treasure prospect at the lower end. The Diplomat, we've also been drilling this year. We're back drilling at Eagle, and then later in the year we'll get up and be drilling in the upper Eagle zone, which is the south, our interpreted southwest extension of Eagle. We've also tested Crown, and we'll be back doing some additional holes at Imperial and Imperial North to try and unravel that system and see if there's potential for unrecognized mineralized zones in the footwall of that Imperial zone. So this project, we have an option to own 100%. There's 260,000 remaining in cash payments and 3.5 million shares to vest our ownership in this, and we still have about 2 million in work requirements. The vendors retain a 2.5% NSR, and we have the right to buy out 1.5 of that, 1.5% for 1 million. So I want to touch quickly on our Alaska gold projects. We are not active up there this year, but it remains one of our core 100% owned assets. Alaska ranks in the top 5 in Fraser Institute's Investment Attractiveness Index. And our project, the Elephant Mountain Project, is located within the famous and well-regarded Tintina Gold Province, which is one of the more pregnant gold provinces in North America. It includes very large deposits like Donlin Creek and Fort Knox and Pogo, etc. They're all of the reduced intrusive related family of deposits, and our project at Elephant Mountain is located just off the year-round highway called the Elliott Highway that joins Fairbanks through Livengood and down into Manley Hot Springs. passes our property, the Elephant Mountain and Wolverine Trout properties. Just shows topography and the access in the area with the Elliott Highway within about 5 kilometers of property. You can drive onto the property on summer roads that access the placer workings, historic placer camps in this area, and then the Gold Rush trails shown in red, which access the historic Quail Creek camp in this area of our Trout Wolverine property. We have about 8 targets on this project, 6 of which we've already advanced to really drill stage. So this is a project that requires a really significant dedication of a drill program to explore, and because of the large number of targets and the fact that we're looking at pretty significant large tonnage, low-grade type targets, which require a lot of drilling. We own 100% of the elephant claims, and we have an option to earn 100% on the trout claim block, all of which we call our Elephant Mountain project. It's road and state trail accessible. It's on state mining claims, and the target similarities similar to Fort Knox, Golden Summit, and Victoria Gold's Eagle deposit in the Yukon. So we have 6 targets over a 12.5 kilometer district. All zones are open to expansion through geochemical exploration, and drilling to date indicates a large 2 by 2 kilometer gold mineralization straddling a wide intrusive hosted fault zone with 4 targets. 2 of those targets have wide low-grade gold, and one of them with narrower higher grade gold. The South Zone discovery needs step-out drilling and is a high priority, and so is the North Pump Zone and Central Zone, which are large tonnage, low-grade type targets associated with a very significant chargeability anomaly hosted within a resistivity anomaly intrusive. Trout targets in a similar geological setting about 8 kilometers away, and we have a target up there called South Fork that also warrants drilling. We did do some soil sampling and prospecting in 2020 with including work that expanded some of the zones by soil work. So this just shows what the granodiorite intrusive looks like as an airborne resistivity anomaly, and the targets are shown on here, wrapped out in circular balloons that define the areas of the 4 targets on the elephant property that warrant drilling. This shows that we've intersected in our drilling programs 0.4 gram per ton over 147 meters in one area, and that included a higher grade portion of about 40 meters grading 0.6 gram per ton. So we haven't really defined the strongest and hottest part of that system, so it really needs drilling to evaluate that. And just as an example, this just shows one of those resistivity or IP cross sections on the IP work we did, showing this deep chargeability feature that's over about 1 kilometer long, which consists of 3 different targets we named, called the North Pump and Central Zone. And the increasing chargeability at depth is related to the deeper oxidation of the disseminated sulfides near surface. And as you can see, one lobe of that, there is a drill hole in it that runs 0.4 over 147 and 0.63 over 48 meters. So this is the kind of project that needs grid-based drilling to explore this 2 by 1 kilometer sort of target, and help define the hottest parts of that system where there may be higher grades or higher grade feeder structures related to these kinds of systems. And this just shows what that chargeability anomaly looks like within the resistively anomalous granodiorite intrusive. So just to summarize, those are the 2 targets, or where we got 4 of our targets down at the Elephant Mountain property, with the North Pump and Central Zones and the South Zone. And then we still have these other targets up at Trout Peak, South Fork, and Wolverine. All are probably related to just a daylighting granodiorite multi-episodic intrusive complex, which has a strong hornfels indicated in green and is daylighting in this area. So the Trout Peak, we've got very interesting good numbers there, again associated with the intrusive itself. So we're 100% vested on Elephant, and we have an option to earn 100% on Trout Wolverine, and the remaining obligations on the Trout deal include $140,000 cash payment over the next 2 years and 200,000 endurance shares by December 2022, and that's subject to a 2% NSR with a buyout on 50% of that. So thank you very much, and please feel free and welcome to give me a call or send any questions you have to info@endurancegold.com. Thank you.